Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday Night Live, where we like to catch up, talk about some news, let you know what we've been doing. And yet another week has gone by, and I haven't done anything
What
significant.
you doing all kind of stuff, Tanisha. Don't do that.
Well, I'm working on a bunch of passion projects, other than I've been cheating on 15 Minutes of Murder.
Okay.
I've been cheating a little bit, but rolling out a lot of personal projects. And I am one half of your host, Tanisha Slater. This is Craig Chapman and our resident crime experts.
Regular dagler, not, but Desiree Edwards.
She be in them regular degular rooms doing them big boss
Mm-hmm.
things, you know. We're not
Mm-hmm.
gonna, we're not gonna, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna be the bigger person.
We
Okay.
are.
Okay. We
Where the
welcome. Okay, what we're talking about is that there was a comment, making a comment in one of the comment sections. And if you want to know what it is, you can go and dig through all of them and find out. But there's one particular comment that I didn't like that was geared towards our crime expert, who is a big deal in Detroit. And I will not stand for it. Can't come for mine.
And beyond.
So when we talk about the entire country, okay, she is sought after, okay? She don't make the calls, they call her. Okay.
They
Anyway,
call me.
but
They call me.
anyway, that's what we're talking about. And regular
Mm-hmm.
deck term kind of popped up, which is one of my favorites. But yeah, uh we don't tolerate, like, if you don't like something we're saying and it's constructive, by all means, let us know. Come back. We'll go back and forth with you. But if you're gonna come on and you're gonna be disrespectful, like we're not gonna tolerate that. Like that's just not
No.
necessary. So we're here to have fun, we're here to learn, we're here to educate, we're here to provide a service, and that's that. That's that. So we won't tolerate comments like
No.
that. Mm-mm.
Mm,
But
no.
anyway, what about you,
Craig,
Craig? What you been up to?
I just
Hey, what you doing?
I was sorry. I was feeling a little under the weather over the weekend, feeling better today, obviously. Um, just been working on Crafted, the beer brand, the beverage company,
mm-hmm.
and the day-to-day things that keep 15 minutes of murder moving in motion.
I'd say he is like, you open up the clock and all those wheels and gadgets and pins and all that. That's Craig Monday through Friday
Yeah.
doing all those things.
Hmm.
Giving us numbers, giving us stats, letting us know, also telling us things like we had two five-star reviews on like Apple Music or
Yeah.
something.
I know.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
shout out to those folks, right?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So as
Our
much as we shout out the
That's a
bad,
big deal.
thank our subscribers and supporters. So thank you.
Mhm.
yeah, yep, all of our subscribers here on YouTube, and we've seen there's been a big upswing in people listening to just the audio of the podcast. So
Yeah. And
Oh,
y'all know I keep telling y'all I love the audio of the
oh yeah.
podcast. It is like so intriguing, and it's just like if you think watching us is a big deal, like to just sit and listen in that vibe and that ooh, what next? Yeah, I really
I
enjoy
haven't
the audio.
listened to the podcast only. Like I've heard, like, I'll have on our live because we are live
Hmm.
streamed 24/7. You can just turn us on, do some laundry, catch up. But I'll have that on and like I'll
Mm-mm.
be in another room and hear it, but it's not exactly like a podcast when you're driving and you're like listening. So Des keeps saying like it's so, like, it's different than the visual, it's different than on YouTube. So I'm gonna
Yep.
have to check that out. So that
Yes.
should
Yes.
that should be cool. I do have two things. One,
Okay.
I need to apologize because last week we did not drop a new episode, and that is because while I was in the middle of working on it, something else kind of like broke open, and I was like, oh, I cannot air this without attaching this extra piece onto it. So I had to do a little bit more research and add some more stuff on. So that's what happened this last Sunday, but this upcoming Sunday we will have a new episode.
But
ins instead, we
that,
dropped a new Ask a PI, which has done really, really well.
Hmm.
Shout out to everybody who's checked out that series. I guess at this point you've done seven of them now.
Maybe seven, eight, or whatever.
Yeah, and I think people have been finding it really helpful and informative, and check it out.
Yeah, but I want to go back to what T was saying about that overview, because that again is back to us not knowing what is going on, that unscripted mess that we always talk about. Because although T said everything she just said, I'm sitting here like I don't know what she's talking about anyway. Like we
Yeah.
don't know what it is. So
They don't know. And
mm-mm,
it's so hard for me not to be like, "Yeah, I just found this out in the blah, blah, blah." So, because I like to
mhm.
keep it intriguing because I do like for you guys to watch it for the first time and have that initial like first thoughts and all of that thing, just like the audience does for certain episodes.
Yeah, well we definitely get that, because the same way our viewers don't know what you're talking about, I don't know what you're talking about either.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And the second thing is that we like, kind of like go through the news, see what's been happening. And I stumbled across, I know that I keep seeing this documentary about the Texas killing fields. And I read a headline today that was like, I guess a big headline in it, but I am not, I didn't watch the documentary and I don't really know what is going on with that. So I'll like toss this to Craig because I know Craig knows a little bit more than
Yeah,
we do.
yeah, it's a pretty like complicated case, but so you're gonna see me looking at my phone a bunch. I've actually watched the documentary. I
Oh,
really loved it. It was a
um,
huh?
what's it on?
On
Netflix?
Netflix.
Okay.
And it was a three-parter, so it was a three-part series. It's great. I think it came out in 2022, maybe 2023. You should definitely check it out. So it's about a series of murders that happened just outside of the Houston area, I think 28 miles-ish away. Um, so there was like a series of murders and bodies found of these young women. Most of them were in their teens, in an area where there's like a lot of marshland. So it was an
Mm.
easy area for these bodies to be,
What's going on with you, bro?
I don't know.
You start
It
coming here.
it was um, an easy area for these bodies to be dumped. Um, I'm sorry about my camera. I don't know why it's
It's the ghost
focusing
in the
in and
machine.
out.
Hmm.
But anyways, I'll keep reading and I'll fix that in just a minute. Um, so this all started taking place back in the 70s and went on through the 90s. Um, and the documentary focused specifically on four of what they believe to be 30 or more murders that took place. Um, and they finally like DNA testing, more modern ways of testing, some of the evidence that they had found along the way, were able to um, prove that it was these two guys who were actually talked about in the sorry in the documentary. Um, They were talked about in the documentary. They were mentioned a few times, but they still weren't certain that it was these people that had done these murders. One of the names of them was Clyde Hedrick. Um, he was a longtime prime suspect, and he died by suicide on March 21st of 2026. So just last month.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, he was in the
Oh, so the
hospital.
heat must have been coming down.
Yeah, he was in the hospital at the time, and it was just as prosecutors were finalizing
Hmm.
the indictments against him for these four murders. He removed his own um, breathing tube, and that's how he committed suicide. Um,
That's
Oh.
it's crazy, right? And then The other, like his, I don't know if it's an accomplice, I guess we would say, but shortly after his death, authorities arrested this guy named James Dolphs Elmore on March 31st, and he was a longtime friend of this guy, Hetrick, that killed himself in the hospital. And he was charged with tampering with evidence, in the 1984 death of a lady named Laura Miller. She'll be important in this story. Um, he would essentially like prepare and like get drugs ready to get these girls to sort of put them in a place of not being able to defend themselves, I guess, better, and getting them lured into a van or a vehicle that they
Hmm.
were using. Um, so they found the victims who t like would typically disappear while they were hitchhiking or traveling alone around this location called the Killing Fields. It's a 25-acre stretch of land near Calder Road in League City, Texas, which is 28 miles southeast of Houston, Texas, along Interstate
Well, it's just
5,
a
along Interstate
plain
5.
field.
Hmm?
It's just a plain field. Like,
I think it's some fields and then some marshland. So, like
oh,
Yeah.
this like swamps
So
kind
Jersey.
of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so a lot of this story, if y'all remember, I think maybe last time we were talking, and I was saying like the actual event is just a small portion of what's going on. And at the time where this was happening, the Houston area was under like a oil boom. So it was like a lot of like new people coming in and out of the area, people who were like coming to the area to pursue employment because it's a boom time. So although it's oil, everything else is flourishing. So now you may have money to paint your house. So now handyman and all that kind of stuff are moving into the area. And I think these men who Craig are talking about may have been part of that flow of traffic coming in and out of the area.
that's
You're
cr-
you're correct on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that from the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
so. Oh, okay. So they were not locals. They were just like passing through, or
I
Yeah,
think
people just
one of the men was one of these like sort of transient people who came there to find work.
mm-hmm.
and these were
Mm-hmm.
local women.
All local women, yeah. The women
Yeah.
were local.
And I some of them I wouldn't even say women, like some of them were like kids. They were teenagers.
No, yeah, the girls I'm going to talk about were like anywhere from 14 to like 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
And they were
Like
feeding
star athlete kind of kids.
and they were giving them cocaine, these kids.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They
So,
treated this like their damn day job then.
yeah, I mean, especially considering these are only four of what they suspect is way more,
Way more.
way more. But the reason I mentioned the girl and I said, remember her name, um, Laura Miller, is because in the documentary, her father was heavily featured. They talked to her a bunch, talked to him a bunch. His name is Tim Miller. And
Mm-hmm.
he's been extremely vocal about this whole case. Um, he actually, the guy that prepared the drugs that I was saying, that didn't actually commit the murders, but was part of it and got arrested after the guy who committed the murders killed himself, actually went to Tim Miller, um, like over the last 4 years and met with him 20 to 30 times. And during these meetings, he would ask Tim Miller, who was the father of one of the girls, um, to drive him around and he would share all these non-public details about the murders with them. And this is what Mr. Miller, the father, believes Elmore was testing what the family knew or was even thinking about in a roundabout way.
So why meet with somebody like that. That could have been your daughter's murderer.
I think he wanted the cops to finally focus. Like he wanted
You at
to
any
move
point
things
could have found
along.
But
out.
some of the story though is that, and I don't know if this was Dad's reasoning, but they mentioned how there were several police agencies involved,
Yes.
and that the agencies were doing just like we always say, they were not sharing information
There were in
with one another.
a lot of infighting was taking
Yeah,
place.
so this may have been a desperate father thinking, this is, listen, I got to go engage this man because I need to know whatever I can get out of him, however I can get it out of him.
But isn't that weird though? Like you go to somebody as a source of reference for pinpointing things out. Like that's not weird.
For who? A weird on whose
Why
part? The
would you
dad?
know? Yeah, but why would you know these things if you weren't the killer? Why would you know these certain things? Like, what is he posing himself as? Like, I'm just somebody who follows this really closely and knows stuff.
Oh
The,
yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't
well,
know. I don't know how he was getting that by with dad.
he knew the father previously. Like a long time ago, he knew the father of this girl. So he wasn't a complete stranger to the father.
Yeah, but like, what? Why would you know things that police don't know unless you did it?
But
Or
Right.
I
you
don't know if dad necessarily knew what the police didn't know because the police weren't sharing information.
Yeah, but it's weird. So if you like have something and like, your daughter goes missing or you don't know what's going on, and I just come to you because I knew you once upon a time and I was like, you know what?
Hmm.
They did dump something over there that the police didn't mention. And there's a thing over here and they used to get drugs over here. And this person, they found a body over here. Wouldn't you be like, why do you know all this?
You might, and that might be why, as a desperate father, you will continue to engage.
Or why
Yeah.
wouldn't it be like 911? This man keeps dragging me all over town.
Yeah, but if
Well,
the police aren't responding and already not uh taking it as serious, because that's what the family were saying, and that's how dad got so involved, is because the police weren't taking them serious. Like when they first started complaining of their loved ones being missing, the police were like, just wait a while, just see if she comes up, don't report it. We're not going to the media or whatever. So this may really be this, and we're talking about like, what is this, the late 70s, early 80s, Craig?
and it continued on into the 90s even.
Yeah, so this man, he probably was just like desperate.
I think his daughter specifically, Laura Miller, was 16. She died in 1984, and they didn't find her body until 1986. And they found it really close to her house. They lived near these killing fields, and she would cross through them to get to another part of town, like where they would go to like go bowling or do whatever they
Hmm.
I
did.
mean, you would say like be careful of how you travel, but again, let's go back to, Gen X and boomers and like,
Hmm.
we we used to travel some
Yeah.
sketchy. I mean, I used to cut through parks. I used to cross train tracks. You don't want to walk all the way down to the light to go
Hmm.
around. You just
Hmm. Hmm.
ride your bike across the train tracks, or you just want
Yep.
to follow a lake to a park somewhere. Like, the 80s
And
were.
and another thing with this about, the the area being as big a part of the story as the actual event, is that this road that this killing fields were found on is kind of like along the route to Galveston. And so Galveston was and always is and probably will forever be a huge tourist point for Texas. So it's just like people among people, just where you could have easily hid amongst this traffic flowing in and out of this area.
And disposing the bodies in places
Mm-hmm.
where nobody's ever going to find them.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like the Gilgo Beach murders guy. He was
Mm-hmm.
putting the bodies back in these swamps and sticks that you could never get
Mm-hmm.
through. So,
Because some of those girls were found in like think, was it part of this killing fields? Was part of it was the oil field, Craig?
That I'm not totally
I
certain
think I
about.
might have heard something like that. And let's say that's true. Who's just walking around an oil field? You're not walking your dog over in the oil field and say, oh, wait, here is somebody's 16-year-old kid.
Yeah, I think it was a bunch of kids out playing in this area that found the first body, and over time they found two more bodies, all
Mm-hmm.
within like feet of each other.
And so they're thinking that this is all one person, or is this just happens to be like a dumping ground where it's easy to start dumping bodies?
That's maybe what they thought at first, but now they're thinking it was potentially this one guy,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
The one that
um,
pulled the tube out?
the one that killed himself. Because
Yeah.
there was a news conference recently, and Mr. Miller, the father, was screaming. He's like, if you guys think it's just my daughter, if you think it's only the four women, he's like, you're wrong. He's like, there's tons of them out there that these people
Mm.
did this to.
And they're
Um,
are they still recovering bodies or
I'll get to that in one
oh,
second. There's a list I have. So it was back in the 80s. It was the infighting of the police, um, and they were dismissing the victims as runaways or transients. You know, the usual, um, blaming the victims.
oh,
Um, and
gypsy?
then they were initially ignoring the key suspects. Mr. Miller, the father, sued the county because the man who killed himself, um, he put this guy on the radar for years, and they never did anything about it. They never pushed any murder charges or even looked into him at all.
Is Mr. Miller still with us? He's
Yeah,
still.
yeah, he was at the news conference screaming,
Mhm.
there's more girls out there than just my
Mm.
girls.
And have
Um,
y'all ever been to Texas?
I've been to Dallas a couple times.
Yeah, so it's really like that when I'm saying like the vastness, like you can be, I don't even remember what part of Texas I was in, but you can literally be just driving up like what looks to be a main road and hang right or hang left, and now it's just like emptiness,
Yeah,
Oh,
like fields and properties that's gated off with the cattle skull across the
oh,
gate. Like it is really like that. So
it's crazy. I've driven across Texas twice, going from Florida to California, like helping friends
mhm.
that wanted to move to LA or whatever. And then we also shot part of a film in a town called it was a tiny little town. Oh, what was the name of it? Oh, Van Horn, Texas. And you're right, outside of this little town, it's just desert
Mhm.
forever and ever and ever.
Mhm.
So it's crazy.
Yep. Yeah.
And then so Tanisha, you were asking about the victims. So the four that were featured, was it Heidi Marie Villarreal Fry, and she was 25 years old, died in 1983. Laura Miller, who we talked about, died in 1984 and was found in 86. Audrey Lee Cook, who was 30 years old, so there is a variance of ages, died in 85. And then Donna Prudhomme, died in July of 1991. So it was over a long period of time.
so why
Um,
do they say like set late 70s, early 80s for these killings?
because this is why other notable area of victims. So other women in the area that were found. There's a girl named Colette Wilson. She was 13 and she was found in 1971.
Oh my God.
So starting back in 71, I have
Mhm.
a list here of like probably 15 women that I pulled off the internet that were all found in this area.
So that's part of that dad's desperation, like what, like just grasping for whatever information he could get, however he can get it, because I'm sure to them and other victims of these missing women, what left is there for us to do?
Yeah, the most recent two women on this list was Kelly Cox. She was 20, died in 1997, and was found in 2016.
What?
And then another girl, Jessica Kane, who was 17, died in 97, found in 2016. There's 12-year-olds
Mhm.
on here, 14-year-olds on here.
So how many total people have been found in that area?
They said up to 30 on this list that I was able to pull together really quick.
To 30?
I probably have 10 or 12 here.
Yeah, I heard 35, somewhere between 30 and 35 is
Did
what
anybody know
what
when
I
the last body was found?
The last one I have is 2016. They said the murders stopped in the late 90s.
Mhm. How do they know that? They turn over everything and find everybody? Well, that
Probably that's probably
you can't
just the
find the killer.
last.
You don't know when they stopped. I'm just getting angry now.
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, I'm no betting woman, but if I had to bet, I would probably bet that that man may not have pulled out his own breathing stuff.
Somebody
Maybe.
at the hospital, maybe.
I mean, because who does that?
And with it being, because this
This
is generational at this point, like we don't know who these
Oh, wait a
these
minute. Is
nurses.
he intubated? If he was intubated, he's not pulling out his own tube.
that's what they reported. He killed himself by pulling out his
Because if
tube.
if 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 let's just say me, if I was, growing up and I heard my big cousins and my aunties and my uncles talking about this and how their friends or girlfriends or my aunt came up missing, and I don't know, you
I mean, you might want to visit
But
and
those stories would still be going on with people who died in 90, what did I say, 92,
well, I mean,
the late 90s.
you got a lot of eyes on this area. I mean, it's named the Texas Killing Field, so you'd think that maybe you'd move locations.
Maybe because he
I
was
mean, why
getting,
keep dumping people there when you don't know if it's stopped? That's the thing. You
well,
yeah.
haven't.
see, you adding too much logic to
I
to
know
to the
you do.
pile of people who are obviously psychopaths. They not thinking how you thinking right now, or they wouldn't be doing it.
Right. That's true.
And you're probably right because he was, from what I read, he was in the hospital like on his deathbed anyways.
Hmm.
So dying with a tube in your throat, how are you going to pull that out on your own?
You
Hmm.
know,
I mean, I see all the time where folks commit suicide in prison and they are under suicide observation watch or in solitary confinement and they have committed suicide.
Yeah.
mm, yeah, a lot of that stuff happens,
It does.
because it can. And
So,
I'm definitely gonna take a look at this documentary
Mhm.
because I'm pretty sure it's on my watch list. But I still have to finish the Gilgo Beach as well, which was whoa. That was like, and I'm talking about the second one. That was not the one you watched, Craig. The one that you watched, as that's more recent. That's interviewing him. The
Yeah. And they're talking to his family and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, think about that case. It could have turned into this if he would have never been caught.
yeah.
I
Hmm.
don't know, 35 people is a lot.
35 people is a lot of people, and the span from 71 through the 90s, through the mid to late 90s, is insane. To be
Hmm.
the same person, so that's 20 plus years. You've aged 20 plus years, and I get it. Like, if you were young, you had to have been like in your 20s, 30s.
Yeah, and
Just
I'm looking at it like this, like on any given day, I may work 3 or 4 cases a day. And each one of those cases has a client, some family, some victims, some witnesses, and I may not talk to 30 to 35 people a day. And that's include you want to throw my husband and my kids in, like that's a lot of people.
a lot of people. And
Yeah.
I guess, spanned over the area, you would think that if you have a place that's like that by at least the mid 80s, you might want to be patrolling there or have some sort of surveillance or something at that point, or maybe even a no travel zone. I don't know. I don't know. I just get really annoyed when something is continuous like that and 30 plus people have lost their lives in a place that is so prevalent that you name it. You have to name it.
They call it the highway to hell.
Mhm.
Kirsten chimed in.
What did Kirsten say?
She
What
says
she say?
usually when you're intubated, you're sedated. She said something's wrong
Yeah,
unless it was a track. I'm not sure. The trach, I guess
Drake,
is what it would be trach.
Drake.
Mhm. Yeah, no,
Um,
he
You're
didn't say
intubated.
that.
You're there's no way you're waking up. You're intubated for a reason, is they're trying to keep
And that's where that story will end. No one is going to investigate. No one is going to care a hill of beans, and that's me trying to be say the right words. No one is going to care a hill of beans about that. So yeah, yep, that's where it's left that he pulled it out himself. Yes, that's what we know.
my question is like, how do they prove it was him that did the other 30 murders?
DNA.
Was their DNA found? I mean, some of those bodies were found 10 years later.
Well, they still have that other man who is alive, right?
The one they arrested.
Correct. And
What?
so what would typically
Yes.
happen is that one who is left, the prosecutor will use that person as a way to mine information to give some kind of closure to this. So
What?
what may end up happening is that person, whatever his name was, Craig said it, but whatever his name is, he may end up getting like what public would consider a really sweetheart deal because there would have been that wane of how much time do we give this person in prison and how much is that, what is the value of that, does the value of him sitting in prison weigh more than him cooperating with us and giving us more information to help get some closure and close some of these cases for these families. So that might be what happens. And if we're gonna roll with their story that he pulled this tube out himself, he may have known that that's what was happening.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this unfolds.
Or maybe
It
somebody
seems
wanted
like
it to end there
they
and
they what?
wanted it to end there. Like you could be the person who did it. And it's like, I just need it to die with this man. Go about my business.
Well, that's one of the things law enforcement say. They could say you could either be a suspect or a witness. You pick.
Mm,
Couldn't they very well just say the guy that killed himself did it, all 30 of them,
easy.
end of story,
Close it
we're
and then
done.
it looked good. We solved it.
Yeah,
But I mean, maybe it seems like they're not doing that.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
this is all really recent, so
Recent as of like to either like yesterday or today, kind of recent, right, Craig?
yeah, I think Tanisha, you found
Like,
it today,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it was something like this week. The top,
Mm-hmm.
the top, the top.
Well,
Mm.
um, Kirsten also said she has an Ask a PI question.
Oh,
Oh,
If we're ready to change topics.
we could do it. Well, here I am, like, Des, you can do.
I'm
okay.
just
Let me tighten up my thinking cap. Okay.
All right.
All right, go for it.
The killing fields we'll revisit as the case unfolds.
Yeah, this
Well,
this could definitely be some. This could turn into our next Nancy Guthrie, where we do follow-ups on.
yeah,
Start.
Hmm.
This woman still ain't found. I
it's true.
feel like she's just gonna fade.
That's horrible. So
Um,
what Kirsten wants to ask?
so she says, I would love to hear Dez's perspective on the latest in the Scott Peterson case.
Oh.
Laci's husband?
Mhm. Yes, ma'am. Laci
That's it. What is the latest? I don't know.
Peterson. You know that there's what do you call
I'm
it?
Googling as you're talking. Go ahead.
There's a and Kirsten might mention it. There's a foundation that took up his case to reopen it
Yeah.
and I guess find new evidence. So apparently they found some evidence that will prove that he's innocent.
So the last I know is the organization that you're talking about. It is called the Innocence
Yes,
Project.
Innocence Project.
And there are innocence projects throughout the country. They are usually like embedded in prestigious law schools. And they are very, very particular about the cases that they take. They don't just take bull crap.
Mhm.
So I remember, I don't know what the recent developments are right now, but I remember first hearing about the Innocence Project taking his case. And for all the reasons that I just said, that made me feel like there is something there to at least explore because Innocence Project, they don't take just anything. And what they will do is you will submit your case to them and they will review it. And then they will send you a letter that is probably the most hardcore, polite, kick rocks letter. They will they will tell you, "No, get this out of here." So for and I have read um rejection letters that my clients have gotten from the Innocence Project. And they don't, because they are the Innocence Project, they don't take stuff where you're saying, I'm guilty by reason of insanity. They don't take stuff where you're saying, um, I did it in self-defense. They only will accept something where you are in fact innocent. So if they were willing to at least review his case and look into it, it might be something really there.
I don't know. I'm like curious as to what I mean, like this is like headlines after headlines, and everybody, damned this man. So I'm like, what in the world could they possibly have that would prove that he's innocent? And obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, because like you said, they won't take a case like this.
Right. And his case has been getting knocked down from the time of his conviction because I want to say at some point he was on death row and then they commuted that or something like that. So yeah, it says his death sentence was overturned in 2020, and in 2021, he was resentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Then in 2024, he was granted a status hearing following a request by the LA Innocence Project. And the Innocence Project said that it had new evidence supporting his claim of innocence.
That's crazy like, so that would mean that he's been doing work on the inside because nobody's trying to claim his innocence but him.
It would be not just him doing his work on the inside. He has the Innocence Project doing work for him on the
I mean, up
outside.
until they took on his case, he had to have been doing his own like
Well, no, he
who
would have had
becomes a
an attorney. He would have had. So anytime you get convicted, and especially if you get convicted and they're sentencing you to death, you are now appointed counsel.
Mhm.
And your counsel is now appointed all of the things that I always talk about. You get evidence people to review your evidence, you get investigators, you get all of those things. So there would have definitely been work, because if nothing else, somebody would have done some work to petition to have the court overturn his death sentence. Then someone would have had to petition to argue for his resentencing. Someone would have had to gather all of the information and submit it to the Innocence Project.
So I'm just thinking though, like it can't be new, like, oh, well, I was at the bar down the street when it happened, so it couldn't have been me. It's more, I'm wondering if it would be more so like evidence to back what he's been saying all these years versus some new
It could be all of that.
theory.
So a whole lot of times, depending on the motion that the convicted person um, filed, they may need to find newly found evidence. And that is where you will hire. So kind of like what I was talking about with the Ask a PI. So you say to me, "Hey, Des, we got these witnesses," and depending on what those witnesses are giving me, that information might be considered as newly found evidence.
Hmm,
So
I don't know. I just,
yeah.
do you think he did it? Do you think he's innocent?
I thought so at the time the Scott Peterson stuff was coming on. I was no one's private investigator, but even in that, I kind of felt like it was a whole lot of circumstantial type stuff. But what we also know with circumstantial cases is they play too, because how many dang on coincidences does it take for us to think that you did it? So, I think my answer would be that I originally thought that there was some guilt in this, but now being an insider and now knowing who the Innocent Project is and actually working cases with the Innocence Project, that leads me to think that there may be something else and that it's a possibility that someone, at least all of us, looking at it, may have gotten it wrong.
Hmm,
Because I'm telling you, Innocence Project, they don't play that game.
yeah,
They don't play like that.
interesting.
Kirsten has a little more feedback. She was saying at the time of her murder, there was a break-in across the street, so everyone
Hmm.
was on high alert. There
Mm,
was some theory that Laci saw something, that maybe Laci saw something.
Yeah.
All this is foreign to me. I have no idea what any of this
No,
is.
and I remember that because that was part of one of the things that they were saying, that the area was had like a moderate crime problem and that there were some break-ins going on, and then not just like the because it was Modesto, I think was the name of their city. So not only did Modesto just have, a moderate crime issue, but these would have been breaking ins that would have been occurring around Christmas time. So,
yeah. Well,
mhm,
I hope that, if that man is innocent, that, he's, I mean, you might not be innocent of all things, but innocent of murdering your wife. And
mhm.
so I hope that justice,
Yeah, and I think one of the things that Scott got caught up with is the notion how poorly people look at men who cheat on their wives. So a cheating husband does not make a murderer.
yeah.
Sometimes, maybe, but that is not always the case. People cheat on their spouses all the time, and their spouses die of old age. But I think that media sensation of that, the Amber Fry and all of that other stuff.
We're still
Um,
the scarlet letter A.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, and he was definitely out of pocket. The things that but he was doing what married men do. So he was having this young woman and thinking that this marriage was something that it wasn't, and all of those things. He was doing what a cheating spouse would do. But
Did you watch the most recent Netflix documentary on it? Or
what about it?
they interviewed her. Uh, the mistress and all of the phone calls and
Mm-hmm.
just it was something. And I think it was that documentary that made me think maybe I don't know, maybe he didn't do it. I mean, he was a humdinger, but doesn't, like you said, doesn't make him a murderer,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
So, I mean, who knows? I mean, it was that shadiness with the boat and the concrete and all of that kind of stuff. Again, I'm not a fisherman, so I don't really know if fishermen are discarding buckets of wet concrete over the side of the boats and all that kind of stuff. Um, but I will just say that regardless of what I think or anyone else think, I think we should put those thoughts on pause, and see what the Innocence Project thinks because
Yeah, that
mm-mm.
also makes me wonder, like, when you do find something, I get it has to go through certain channels, but like, what is taking so long for that kind of evidence to be revealed?
Well,
And
people ask me all the time, Des, how long do you think this is going to take? And my answer is always this. I'm about to answer your question. Don't take what I'm saying to be me being smart in the mouth or disrespectful. But the answer is it is going to take however long it takes.
mm,
And that take is going to be exceptionally longer when it comes to murder.
mm,
But
true.
yeah, this stuff takes forever. Like I've had clients sitting in county jails for 5 years awaiting their trials because it just takes forever, especially those folks who got caught in the system during COVID. Oh my God, like it takes forever. Takes forever.
When you said that, I just remembered that I forgot to fill out my jury duty questionnaire. I have jury duty next week.
Oh, well, I'll text you we'll talk about it via
Uh,
text.
Secrets.
But yeah, that's
So
about it.
yeah, I mean it was a lot of
Hmm.
good coverage tonight.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah, I want you to tell me, where did you see this Scott Peterson, Laci Peterson documentary?
Netflix.
Netflix. Okay.
I think it's still there. It's like American something, maybe.
Okay.
It's still
Yeah.
documentaries, and
Mm.
it was a
And
lot.
can you imagine? So let's say the Innocence Project, springs him out, or at least have him plead guilty or accept a charge of something lesser. Like I wonder what that will do to Amber Fry's like mental health, like because it's essentially her statements, her testimony that would have convicted him. Like I always wonder like how do people carry that?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. You're gonna have
Yeah.
to know. Like, how did he
Mm-hmm.
carry? If he's innocent. How did he carry
Yeah.
that? Being
Yeah.
locked up, innocent, and and then how does he carry going on with his life after losing so much time?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have to just.
And the details of like how that baby was born, like the baby was literally like expelled from Laci's body from the buildup of the gases in her body as she was decomposing. Like that is how that baby was born. I think his name was Connor. That's how Connor was born. He was expelled from his mother's body by the decomposing gases that were building up in her body.
Yeah,
Like this was some nasty stuff.
wow.
And that again is what makes me believe that if the Innocence Project says
Yeah,
this deserves
yeah.
a second look it deserves.
All right, maybe we dig a little bit more into it and talk a little bit more next week about what's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another good case to keep tracking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Y'all know what to do. Like, subscribe, and follow us.
All
And
of that.
I'm fingernail painted.
all of that. What is that?
Yeah.
Red?
I was testing out a nail polish at my mom's, just playing around
Oh,
in nail polishes.
oh.
Like a 5-year-old does.
Mm-hmm.
50 years,
Mhm.
sorry.
I was over here checking the integrity of my nails. I think I'm
Your
about
nails
due.
are always on point. I had to take mine off. I had my nails for a while, and now I had to take them off. And they like I'm not even going to show you up close what people stay away from the nail salon unless you got a good one.
Well, what I find is because I'm really a little boy at my heart.
Mhm.
And so what I find is that the longer my nails are, the more often I have to get them done because I'm doing like lifting and moving and
They
pulling. And then I
grow,
got,
you grow out, and then you, God, this
yep, yep. So I can tell I'm getting some little weakness in
Craig is
there.
like, what am I gonna have for dinner?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm just like, this is
See,
what I do.
I know, Craig.
I
He's
just
like,
bite
"Yeah,
my
well,
nails.
like, I don't
And
have.
be done with it. Be done with it. Craig takes the easy way out.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this Wednesday night live. We appreciate all of your support, your likes, your comments. We appreciate everything. And we will see you this Sunday with a new episode, and then we'll catch you next week on the next Wednesday night live.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Good
subscribe.
night.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.